little bit about the genesis of this idea? Because I felt like it was a really fresh approach to someone who just came back to war, something I haven't seen in a very long time.
Yeah,
From war.
Well, hopefully you haven't seen it ever, because the idea is every veteran coming home from war movie is always about a veteran grappling with post-traumatic stress. And I mean, while that is a real thing, that's a real issue that needs to be dealt with, a majority of the veterans who come home from war are actually okay, and they just want a fair shake. And so I thought that was an interesting, that in itself isn't very interesting, but then if you compare it with the idea that the veteran's fine, but the country has PTSD from September 11th, to me, then there's conflict there. There's natural conflict there to drive the narrative. So I just thought it was an interesting jumping off point.
And what was the point where you decided you were going to sit down and kind of write this feature film script and actually go and get it made? Because it's one thing to say, I have this idea to make a film. It's another thing to actually do it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be just borderline delusional. And, you're a producer as well. You have to be crazy. I would literally just keep coming to New York every 6 months. Like, I'm making a movie, and I don't have any cast or any money or anything. And I would just keep rewriting the script. For the 18 months leading up to shooting, I had 33 drafts of the script. I'm a rewriter, I'm a writer at heart, so I would just keep rewriting, keep changing, keep making it better and better, keep getting notes. Found some really wonderful producers out in LA. It's a company called Vanishing Angle, Matt Miller and Eric Lochner, and then Terry Leonard is another producer he's kind of bi-coastal, and got them to believe in me, believe in the project, went out, found some great investors, and then found some amazing actors. You just have to kind of keep at it and just be so persistent to the point of driving yourself insane.
How is this whole thing from your perspective? Because we have a first-time feature filmmaker here. When you get a script like that, do you think, I have to really look into this guy to make sure he's the real deal?
Yeah, big time.
No, it's true though. I wouldn't, if I was an actor, and especially someone like Paul who's got a great body of work in acting his whole majority of your life, I assume, right? I mean,
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
No, since I was 15, yeah.
So, I think it is a leap of faith,
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I guess I'll start. Yeah, for me, it's not that much of a leap of faith because I saw Sean's short films and I really liked them. So it's not like it was a complete, I was like, okay, this guy clearly knows what he's doing. I knew he went to Columbia for film school. It's like, how big of a moron could he be? You know what I mean? And then I decided...
Be surprised.
I saw your expression.
But then, and then I knew who the two leads were. I saw Dina's work. I know Martin's work. I was like, it's really, for me, it wasn't that big of a gamble. I didn't have to, do some weird nudity and what's happening here, questionable film.
Yeah.
No, it was the script was great. I was ready to go.
Yeah.
What about you?
What about you, Dina?
Yeah, I saw your short film too.
Yeah,
it was
from Columbia. Sadiq. It's called Sadiq.
And
it starred Leif
Mackley, who
plays Bassam.
Yeah, he's great.
Who's
fantastic.
So good.
Yeah,
and I've always loved. We have a really great relationship. He's like my older brother.
Did you know each other prior to the film?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Leif recommended
me for an audition.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's cool.
We're all learning something here today.
That's the point.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Leif couldn't say enough good things about you. And I mean, I'm just starting out. I just went to grad school at NYU, so also grad school graduate. And
I didn't go to school. I just want everyone to know.
So, look at you.
Yeah, look at you. It's all grown up.
Yeah, so for me, it was just a beautiful script, and it was a wonderful thing to be a part of. And I love Amira, I love the character, and I loved Martin's character too, and Charlie. I thought the whole script was written with very little judgment and just really open, and it's really rare. It's really cool.
How is it for the two of you having gone to film school and then actually doing it professionally? Because, there's tons of people out there who are like, do I go to school and spend all the money, or do I just go out into the world and get the experience?
I say don't do
Yeah.
it. Save the dough. No, I'm just kidding.
I think it's a coin toss.
Kidding.
Yeah.
I do think it's a coin toss. I think you either go out and do it. I mean, for me, I was so out of I had gone to West Point. I was a captain in the Army. I knew nothing. I showed up at film school, and to my left was, I still remember Felipe Barbosa, who's a very talented filmmaker. His whole life had been film, and had done undergrad in film, and Tamara was another great filmmaker, and I was just surrounded at grad school with these people who've been studying film their whole life, and so I had so much catch up to do. And then I had these wonderful teachers there, Eric Mendelson, Nick Preferis, all these, Tom Kalin, wonderful, wonderful professors there that just guided me through. And to me, it just accelerated. So film school for me was totally worth it because it accelerated everything. It also allowed me to leave there with, I left with a feature screenplay that ended up getting optioned by Ridley Scott's company, a West Point Rugby script called 15 Brothers, which we've been trying to get made for a while, and it's getting close finally. And then a short film called Sadiq, a 12-minute short that won a bunch of awards and starred Leith Knackley and who was in this movie. So anyways, it gave me what I needed to, the very first thing, exactly like what Paul said, and say with Martin, when Martin read the script, he's like, okay, I like the script, what's he done before? And so that little 12-minute short film from film school, if I didn't have Sadiq to then back up the claim, I don't think I would have got the movie made.
So probably right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how about from your perspective? Because you were talking before about having done student short films. So what is it like going from performing in one of those to this? Is there a big difference between tackling a feature?
No, I just think there's just more lines and more days that you show up. But I mean, yeah, I think there's a difference because it was more professional, and so there was more of a potential for people seeing it. So I definitely felt like, I could not be but anything less than my best, which is what I approach everything with. So, but yeah, and I think
we had a real family
I
on
loved
set
going to
too.
school. Yeah, and we got along so well, and
Yeah.
I grew up in the Middle East without any facilities for acting or anything around me, so I kind of showed up in New York and didn't know anyone. No one I knew had ever done this before, and so school for me was a great way to just meet people and to learn and to play and be surrounded by people that are so good and that have been, when you grew up in America, you can study acting your whole life. You can start at 15, and so to be around people that had done that was really good for me.
I read that you take the family setting approach to your film sets, and that's one thing I always really appreciate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Cassavetes is like definitely the godfather of indie film, and I read his biography. He's fantastic. Accidental Genius, I think it's called. And if you read that, I mean, his whole thing is, and if I have the ability at some point when I have bigger budgets and more time, I don't have to shoot an entire movie in 16 days. He would have dinner every night at the end of his, with everybody, and they would just have a big family dinner. They'd all drink, it's just, I love that. Like I love the idea of creating a family because it's something special. I mean, the movie, we'd never be able to make this, I've talked about this before, we'd never be able to make this film again. Just the way it all came to, if you gave us the same amount of money, same actors, just the energy we had, and, Paul flying in every weekend, and, he used a lot of that in his character because his character was under a lot of stress, and I think, he was too under a lot of stress because of me and our schedule, and, he was shooting 5 days a week in Atlanta and then coming in and shooting like 12-hour days on our set, which was just incredible, the commitment there, and then Dina just with, kind of knew her first film and the energy you had and the kind of...
I was on summer break.
Yeah, and summer break, and then Martin too with his first lead, and he's kind of, just that energy, like that is just something, and just little stuff, just the weather was perfect on the boating day, just little things fell into place, the motorcycle stuff, that just, we wouldn't be able to do it again, and so I think that's the real magic of independent filmmaking is you just do your best, and as the director, it's your job just to kind of steer the ship and make sure everybody's happy, and make sure, when your actress goes to the emergency room on day one, that the whole, the thing doesn't fall apart, and, you have to I put my assistant in a hijab and shot over her shoulder until she could get better, so, you just have to adapt, and I think that's where my military background comes into it as well, where the idea of like, when you're leading your, you're leading your soldiers, oh yeah, you should talk about it.
Now I have to ask what happened.
Yeah.
Like, as someone who's produced a feature, I think that would have like destroyed me on day one.
Oh,
Our first days, so everyone met me, and within half an hour,
her eye was...
I put hydrogen peroxide in my contact solution, and burnt my cornea, and then it leaked into the other eye, and so for like 6 to 8 hours that day, I was blind.
There's another huge fear of my life, using something other than my contact
Oh
solution.
my god, it was the most painful thing, and then they had to water out my eye with saline solution for oh my god, like half an hour now.
My producer, Eric Lochner, rushed her to the hospital, and then I'm on set, they want everybody looking at me, no actress, and the whole day was all scenes with them. So there's this dinner scene at the beginning, where they're all telling the story, like he's telling like the penguin joke, and all these jokes at the beginning of the dinner scene. So a majority of that scene, Dina wasn't there for that scene. So I put my assistant, I'm like, okay, what can we do, don't freak out. Okay, hey, Liz Vereshko, my assistant, I said, Liz, wear this. And we shot over her shoulder. So we got all of Martin's coverage, all of Bassam's Late's coverage, and everything. And then and then we shot a couple of things just with Martin. I think that day that we shot everything we could, and then I didn't sleep. This was the first day of production. I didn't sleep that night because I didn't know if I was going to have a production on day 2, and I didn't know how I could. We already spent a nice chunk of the budget, and there's no way, and I just didn't know, so I didn't fall asleep, and so I'd been up and I'd already been up for like, a few days, I think, and she came. Not even she came back. I got a phone call that you were coming back around after lunch, I think, on day 2. So then we rearranged day 2 schedule to just shoot more. We shot some exterior stuff, I think, with Martin, and we got, and then she showed up after lunch, and your eye was still a little red. And the only VFX in the movie was we had to go in and pull out the red. It's the door where she slams the door. She yells at him in Arabic, like, "I don't want your army friend." Blah blah blah. She shot that 10 minutes after getting back from the hospital, basically. And it's a great scene, and she was pissed in that scene, and it was great because she was pissed because she missed a day of production.
I thought I was never going to see out of my eyes again.
So I'm like, use it.
Not only am I going to get fired, but I'm going to be blind for the rest of the
Movie magic is the greatest thing ever. I
Yeah.
never would have noticed any of this.
Yeah, so you just have to, but again, we kept it light and kept it fun. I mean, I think the set we were always laughing and between takes, and the big thing for me as a director is if everybody feels comfortable, then they're with me and they trust me, then they're going to give the best performances. That's to me the most important thing. And I think all the actors really trusted me, and that made me feel the best.
Can you tell me a little bit about going from Vampire Diaries to this? Was there any step in detox you had to do before stepping into this role?
Well, I was just telling, we were doing an interview where I was saying that, on Vampire Diaries, everything is very kind of, I don't want to take away, it's a great show, but it's a very sort of, we all know the beats we're hitting, we know the scene, there's really, you can play with the dialogue to a degree, but it's kind of, everyone pretty much sticks to the dialogue, and it's so getting thrown into an independent film, it's kind of like Sean created this environment. It was like everyone is sort of just like, what we don't know what's going to happen next. Like we're sort of here's the scene, but we don't know how it's going to go. And especially all of my scenes were with Martin, and Martin's a very kind of improv type actor. And so it did take my brain a second to switch from that kind of, stoic whatever actor to this kind of morally ambiguous hot shot on Wall Street. It was two different worlds, but I love it. Look, if I could do that, Sean was saying Paul was flying in and shooting on the weekends, he was going crazy, but it's like I would do it all year round. It's just it's such a creative outlet for me.
It's incredible to me how fluid a set like this has to be, but at the same time, I can't believe you shot it in 16 days. And you have so many locations here, it's insane. And in New York City, nonetheless.
Days?
Well, 3 weeks. It was 3 weeks, so 21 days, but 16 and a half. We shot with 16 and a half shooting days over 21 days. Yeah, we had to have a couple days off to and of course, the only time we have 2 days off, freaking Martin, we have 2 days off. He flew to Hawaii. He caught a flight to Hawaii to shoot a scene in Hawaii 5-0. And then he had to fly back, and he had to land on the boat morning. I had this boat. I'm so he does nothing about it. I didn't sleep, So it's just
we played poker that night.
Yeah, we played poker that night. And who won? Come on.
I won.
The best thing about Dina, she's so I'm going to crush you in poker. I'm like, Dina, you don't understand, I know how to play poker. And I took all her money in 30 seconds.
I went in with way too much confidence.
Yeah, so it's all right. But we had a blast. But that was.
You took all her money.
I took all $25.
No.
$25.
I'm really good at poker.
Clearly.
And Sean took all my money, and I was just so overly confident and kind of not even caring. And within 30 seconds, I realized that I lost all my money.
Yeah.
And left. I went home. I was really annoyed.
I know. Very competitive. I like that. We should. I know. We were talking about that. Next time
I'm gonna win. I'm really good at poker.
Yeah, I love playing. So it's a fun time.
Poker nails.
Oh, sweet.
Oh my gosh!
Royal flush.
Get out of
and
here.
then this is a poker term. Ship it.
Ship
Oh,
it.
that's
There we
so
go.
funny.
I love it.
Now I need a picture of that
amazing.
to insert in the
Yeah.
video.
That's
I love-
amazing.
I'm sure there's one on Instagram now.
That's,
Yeah,
I love I love
That's
poker.
amazing.
Poker, there's a lot of analogies to producing an independent film. You've got to gamble. You've got to kind of sort of play your cards right, for lack of a better phrase,
And how was it shooting in New York? Because you have so many locations that I would imagine it'd be hard to get access to, or official access.
I know
we were
New
always
York
taught
really
no
well.
subways.
I had laid out the film. Very much for the geography to match the characters and the theme of the idea of Charlie's character being Manhattan and institutional and the money and kind of big, and then Dina's character being Brooklyn, being the diverse kind of outer suburb, and then Martin's character being forgotten, Staten Island, and kind of sort of, the lost borough, and veterans, how they've been kind of sort of, parsed from, the daily society's, the conversation these days. And so, and then there's a bridge that connects Brooklyn and Staten Island called the Verrazano Bridge, which to me connected Amira and Sam. And so that bridge features prominently throughout the film, kind of as this visual reminder of their connection. So.
Now, before we have to wrap up, because we have a lot of Vampire Diary, I was going to say Academy, that's the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Vampire Diaries fans out there. Sadly, I did not keep up with it, but I've been reading a lot about it now because of TCAs. I'm actually sure you're exhausted right now. But
I didn't go to the TCA.
Oh, really?
No.
I
I'm
thought
exhausted for other reasons.
At this point, though, 6 seasons, for you personally, is it something like, I'm ready for it to go out with a bang, or there's still more to this character I can get something for myself out of?
I think that we have another year in it, and then I'm not sure anything past that. For me, I'm really still enjoying it because I'm directing it now, and so that to me is like this new thing. I think if it weren't for the directing, maybe I would be feeling somewhat stagnant, but I think next season will be kind of interesting because I think it's I think they're going to shift the dynamic because I'm not sure if it's going to be the same cast, to be honest with you. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with. And then I don't know what's going to happen past that, but I don't know. I can't say anything for legal reasons. No, I literally can't say because I just don't know.